No longer in the shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public. Okay.
Do you want to just
Let's
do
just
a summary?
Well, no, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But Carlos, just in case we didn't get your question again, what was your question again?
My question was, why did they actually start announcing about the UFO sightings now compared to when they actually had the recordings beforehand?
Okay.
Got it. There you go.
Hey, look at that. That moves much easier now. Look at that. Okay, so no longer in the shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public. So basically, we read through this earlier.
Is the phone recording?
Yeah, we're all recording now.
Got it.
Yeah, everything's recording now. No longer in the shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public. For over a decade, the program, now tucked inside the Office of Naval Intelligence, has discussed the mysterious events classified in briefings. So basically, this goes through here, and it talks about it confirms some of the video we saw from back in 2007 of them flying around with the Navy pilots. It also talks about that Senator Rubio from Florida was involved in this. Harry Reid was very big in on this. They were worried about the national intelligence stuff that was coming through all of this. But the interesting part is when we start getting in here and start talking about these guys, the Mr. Elizondo, and then some Mr. Reed's down here they're talking about. But one of the things that they found was one of the things Mr. Elizondo said was it no longer has to hide in the shadows. It will have a new transparency, talking about the new program that they're setting up. Let's see here. Mr. Reed said, after looking into this, I came to the conclusion that there were reports, some were substantiated and some not so substantive, that there was an actual materials that the government and the private sector had in their possession. No crash artifacts have been publicly produced for independent verification. Some retrieved objects, such as unusual metallic fragments, which were later identified from laboratory studies as man-made. Eric Davis is an astrophysicist who works for a subcontractor and is a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program since 2007 that said in some cases examination of materials had so far failed to determine their source and led them to conclude we couldn't make it ourselves. So the constraints on declassified programs makes it to where he can't talk about a whole lot. The quote from here in this article is, Mr. Davis now works for an aerospace corporation. A defense contractor said he gave classified briefings to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on Earth. So they have found, the way I'm reading that is it's basically saying they have an aircraft, they have some kind of technology that they can't figure out where it came from. Off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Sounds like they're confirming that they've got UFOs to me. But he was saying, because I know you were talking about why are they doing this now? I know one of the things, one of the specials I watched, which actually had this guy here, not Harry Reid. Nobody wants to talk to Harry Reid. This guy, this Alonzanato. Let's see, what's his first name? Luis. This guy, I watched a special on him, and one of the things he was talking about was it's basically come down to is now they can verify enough of it with enough extra scientific data, like the UFO, the Navy one that a lot of people were talking about. That one's the one that kind of sparked all this. They came out and confirmed it, and what they were saying on that one was that we had so much other readings, so much other telemetry data on it. That's the reason why they came out and released it. It was one of those, look, we can verify beyond a shadow of a doubt. We have no idea what this is. They had verification from the ship's radar, from an AWACS radar, which is one of the drones flying around in the air. They had radar from that one. They had radar from the ship. They had several. They had two different ship, or two different pilots, two different aircraft in the air flying, talking about it. So they had that's where that video come from, the one that's been floating around lately. That's where a lot of that's been showing, is it's come down to is they could prove it. And I think really what it's gotten down to is we all know about Roswell and stuff like that, but what I really think it's come down to is at this point they can't deny it anymore. And back before, there was enough evidence to where a reasonable person could go, oh, well, there's really not that much there, or, you could dismiss it as a weather balloon or something like that. But now we've got technology, the way technology is now, you just can't deny it anymore. It's one of those, we've got enough evidence that where we can prove, you had an AWAC do it, you had an AWAC show up, that got it on camera. There's so much evidence now that you can't deny it anymore. Before there was people in the government that didn't want people freaking out, and going, and the government had their suspicions, but they couldn't 100% prove anything. You know what I mean? They didn't have a living, talking specimen that could, they could walk out on the front porch lawn and go, "Hey guys, this is our dude."
Yeah, this is Steve.
Yeah, this is Steve. Nice to meet Steve. Everybody, let's talk to Steve and let's see what Steve can teach us. So, but yeah, this is basically saying that, yeah, the government now confirms that there are aircraft operating in our aerospace in ways that they cannot explain. They have enough scientific evidence to put something on screen and go, yeah, we have no idea. And the biggest concern, a lot of the big concerns about it nowadays is, and why they're getting so many more people involved, is because that's a real threat. If we don't know what those capabilities of those aircraft are, and they are just like literally playing in our areas, then it's something that's worrisome. So a lot of people that's the reason why they're coming out. To answer your question, I think the reason why they're coming out nowadays is just because there's no way to deny it anymore. Mm-hmm. It used to be, back in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, the best you had was grainy footage, or somebody's story. The Foo Fighters were a big thing in like World War II. And Foo Fighters and Gremlins, and Foo Fighters were just these little mysterious lights that they'd see flying around whenever they were in formation, flying around out in public and stuff like that. They'd do little, they'd see lights and stuff like that off in the sky, and that's what they called them, was Foo Fighters. So, but there's been reports of aerial phenomenon for years. I think the reason why they're coming out with it now is it's gotten to a point where they cannot deny it anymore.
I just think there's probably no point. Because, whatever they're going to keep hidden, they're going to keep hidden, right?
Well, maybe, but the thing about it is I think nowadays with modern tech being the way it is and everybody being able to record stuff, I don't think there's any reason as to why. I think they honestly know they can't deny it anymore.
Yeah, it's you can keep something secret as long as you want, but it's the effort you want to put into it. I think that the risk versus reward has run out on that one.
Yeah.
And, honestly, if they're going to keep anything hidden anymore, it's going to be more important than that.
Right.
Because, why? Why keep that one hidden?
Right.
If they're probably already using it in some aircraft. I imagine a lot of our aircraft probably takes a lot of resemblance to that. So, at this point, it's like, okay. There's not really a point in saying, okay, this doesn't exist anymore, even though that ship looks really similar. Let's not talk about it, though.
Maybe the reason why they actually didn't want to talk about it now, from now, is because that if they were to say that there was aliens that came crashing down with high tech spaceships and stuff back then, compared to now, we now have our own set of high tech stuff from ourselves that we are less scared of it than we would have been back then.
Well, it's
more of trying to put less fear in the human.
Well, no, I think it boils down to it's a lot. You got to remember with the military, it's a lot of security, because if it's run out of value, there's no point in hiding anymore. But if it still has value, like I said, we don't have the actual pictures. They have not produced any real, minus minuscule bits and pieces. They haven't showed us the full spectrum of what they have. They're not going to until they're ready.
No. Well, and the thing about it is, and just to add something here real quick before you two go on about this, that's the thing. The videos that the government has, the videos that the government has released prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these aircraft maneuver in ways that no country on the planet can replicate. There is no current technology, and the reason why we don't think it's another country's technology is, I can't remember the exact name of the effect, but there's this we'd see evidence of it. If they had this kind of advanced military technology, if like China or Russia or Israel or England or anybody else that saw, if they had that kind of technology, could operate it, that stuff would have filtered out to the rest of society. You would see obvious evidence from it, right? Like, think about during the space race, right? During the space race, we had so many great technologies that we discovered trying to get to space that got applied to regular life, you know? So that's where, and I don't have any good examples of those. I need to come up with some. That kind of stuff is, we'd see evidence of it. We know it's not from planet Earth because we'd see other evidence, like Wakanda, right? Mm-hmm. If you found one spacecraft from Wakanda, well, that's not the only thing they've got. Their entire society has got all that kind of technology integrated into it. So it's obviously not from here, and it can do things that are way beyond any capabilities we know on Earth. That's part of the reason why it's so scary. And that's the reason why it's such a big deal, is because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt nobody on this planet could do what's happening in those videos.
So, I mean, it's just one of those, it's not worth keeping a secret, and whatever, you know, whatever they were worried about before, whether it be the ability to reproduce it, is gone. You know, I mean, if you told everybody, yeah, we have all this stuff 20 years ago, or however long ago before they knew for sure it could not be reproduced right now, they wouldn't have said a thing, because you don't want China or another great power having that over us, because say they have Ted who can reproduce it and make the fastest, most maneuverable jet. I mean, we're fucked. You don't want to screw us over. So it's one of those things. I mean, there's no point in hiding it anymore. I think that's probably the main point of it is, you know, whatever they're going to keep under wraps, they're going to keep under wraps, but there's no point in hiding it all anymore. But yeah, to answer your question, that's my response.
What do you think, Carlos?
What do you think, Carlos?
It's an interesting concept.
Well, what do you think of aliens in general? Let's talk generalities here. Let's not talk specifics about tech and what's going on right now. Let's talk generality.
Like, what do you want me?
Well, what do you think?
Do you think
what do you think about aliens? Do you think they could
alien?
exist? Do you?
Wait, what?
Would you screw an alien, Carlos?
Would you do an alien, or are you racist?
Yeah.
Are you speciesist?
I don't know for a fact yet.
Depends on how hot she was.
Depending.
Right. Depends on how attractive she is.
Depending on how many tentacles she has.
Something completely different.
But the more tentacles, the more excited you get, right, Carlos?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
dude.
Yeah. Tentacles. It's all about the tentacles.
Yeah, dude.
What's your general opinion on aliens, Kyle?
Honestly, I don't have one.
Would you screw an alien?
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah. Wouldn't you?
One that looked like, was it Jabba Fett or?
Oh, dude.
Jabba
the Hutt? Oh, yeah, dude. I got a Star Wars tattoo. I'd go down on Jabba the Hutt.
That's really disturbing to think about. Oh, my God. That's scary.
To you. You're just scared. Man up.
There's some places I won't go. That's definitely one of them.
I'm an American. I'll do whatever.
Go beyond the things. Was it go where no person has gone before?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's not a place I'd want to go.
No, you wouldn't go down on Jabba the Hutt?
When you tried to inseminate it, but it ended up inseminating you instead.
Oh, God, that's a horrible concept.
I'm a daddy. I'm going to name it Han.
Yeah, we're horrible.
Honestly, though, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Do you think it's out of the realm of possibilities?
Definitely not. I mean, fucking.
It'll be a new language to learn, I guess, if they have the language.
I'm not learning a freaking alien language. I haven't even learned Spanish.
That's pretty bad because you're Mexican.
Mm-hmm. I tried at one point. I
actually
can understand it pretty well.
Isn't this a table full of 3 Mexicans that don't know how to speak Spanish fluently?
That'll be funny. I'll learn alien language before I learn Spanish. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll learn how to speak a whole different like universe of language before I learn my own
It's nothing but-
species of
Before you learn
language.
Spanish.
Nothing but grunts and clicks.
All right.
Right?
Watch, it's just English.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
They're
they
like, "Dude,
have
I'm
the
not
technology to do that if
uncivilized."
they're
Well,
ever gonna start talking to us.
I mean, it's one of those things you'd assume, like, I think that, what was the name of that stupid movie? It wasn't stupid, I actually thought it was a pretty good movie, but that one with the contact where the lady's a language interpreter, and she goes into this thing and she's using signs and math to try to interpret him. Am I the only one at this table that's seen that movie?
I don't know which movie you're talking about, so I don't know.
I can't remember the name of it now. But anyway, this lady goes in there and she goes in and she's trying to communicate with the aliens and she's trying to figure out how to talk to them. She's using like signs and symbols and all kinds of other shit. You know, basic kind of stuff that we did with the Indians. It's just, I personally think it's, unless there was a bigger reason behind why we had to learn the language, which is what it was in that movie, I think it would be pretty stupid
Oh,
to
is it
think.
that new one?
Yeah, it's a newer
Okay,
one.
yeah, no, I know. what
No,
you're
I
talking
think
about.
I
I just haven't watched it.
The one that was like a giant, like I guess, octopus creature that was in a.
Kinda, yeah. That was behind the mist
Yeah,
inside of the
yeah.
alien spacecraft. You never
Now I
really got to
remember.
see him.
I saw that.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about, right? Yeah, and it's one of those things where I just think, if like I understand the reasoning behind it in that movie, but like in general, I think it's stupid to think about that we'd actually have to learn their language. I mean, you're talking about a species that literally can cross star systems, and we're worried about trying to figure out how to talk to them. I'm pretty sure if they've gotten that far, if they've come this far, they probably have a pretty solid understanding of the English language as well as all the rest of the dialects across the entire country.
Could be why they're studying us.
I mean, it could be. It's possible.
Well, I mean, you gotta remember they might not. Everything evolves differently, and we don't know what climate they would have evolved in. Because they could communicate like ants, for all we know.
I get that, but my
You know?
thing is if they can cross star systems, communication is the last thing we should have to worry about when they get here.
Yeah.
Like we should all, in one form or another, it should be relatively easy for us to communicate with them.
Well, and the fact of the matter, though, is what do we have that they want?
Maybe that's why they've just been hanging around for so many years and not doing anything.
Because they don't want anything. They're probably just like, oh no, this is pointless. There's no point in interacting with something that might be volatile, or probably is, because you know us.
Right? Yeah, we like to bomb and kill everything.
Yeah, it's fun, dude.
But it's
But-
also best not to actually interact with us, knowing.
Well, they might have.
So what you're thinking, like maybe like the Star Trek concept, like the do not interfere kind of thing until
Yeah.
they've made interstellar species, until
Yeah.
there's space kind of thing.
Do not be the first one to interfere with them. Have them come
First
to you.
contact protocols kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very good possibility. We don't know what the setup is out there. I mean,
Well, if there is one, because
I
it
wonder
might
if there's a
just be.
space government. Sorry.
no, that's a good question. That's a good question. There might be a space government.
Well, I mean, the concept being, and maybe they just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just like, we like our shit. We don't need to mess with these monkeys.
Yeah.
They're sketchy. They hit things with rocks. They throw. Well, actually, you know that's what bullets are.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
hit
they
things
throw-
with rocks. We don't like it.
No, right?
You know, they're apes and weird and creepy and no, you know, I mean, or they're just like, it's kind of entertaining. Let's watch them.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're at our stage at one point in their
Yeah,
history.
but you got to remember, we don't remember when we were at like whenever we were still evolving.
Yeah.
Like
but-
we don't history forgets, and it probably forgets in all across the board. Like you don't remember, dogs don't remember when they were wolves.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a fair conversion because we will be able to. They would be able to remember their history from unless they had some kind of major catastrophe happen. They've got a written record of their history as
Yeah.
far back as they can have.
Yeah, but can
So
you really
I
comprehend how it was in 1776?
yes,
No, like-
absolutely.
no,
I can
no,
recreate it.
No, not like that. Not like that. Not the concepts. I mean, how's it going, man?
Oh, go ahead.
We're actually understanding our own hieroglyphics and stuff, like trying to read our own writing of what we used to have back then. I'm pretty sure they could do the same thing with their own stuff.
Well, and that's kind of one of my things and all that kind of stuff is that we're stuff. Yeah, the hieroglyphics.
How we were learning how to study our own hieroglyphics or our own way of writing back then. I'm pretty sure they did the same thing. They could do the same thing.
So basically, what you're saying is Kyle's an idiot, and thinks that, and basically he's dumb for thinking that they couldn't figure out their own history.
I understand they can figure out their history.
you want to talk, you have to come to the table. Because otherwise we can't hear you.
I was eating.
So am I. Bring your fucking food over here.
We're done.
Oh.
Make me move.
Let's make it to where we can hear you, that's all.
That's not the point. But yeah, I don't know.
Aliens, yes, no, maybe.
Probably.
Want to move on to a different subject?
Probably.
Most likely.
All right, let's move on.
Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Ah, there we go, Bigfoot.